Come check out the new Pacific Grade 2 Hair Braiding and National Hair Care Salon, located at 18070 Mount Elliott Street. Our new salon is spacious and adequate parking, Wi-Fi, and all brand-new state-of-the-art salon equipment. Come meet your local hair braiders and national hair care specialists, and check out our many hair services, such as hair treatments, hot braids, cornrows, tree braids, cabana twists, children's braids, national twists, lock extensions, kinky twists, guided locks, updos, wool weave, and more. Please feel free to visit us on the web at www.sistersbraids.com or call 313-826-0498. Here at Sisters Braids, we offer special care for exceptional hair. We look forward to seeing you. Sisters Braids 2 is a proud recipient of the Unity and Rebuilding Fund.
Now you can watch WHBR TV 33 on Fire Stick. Get all of your favorites. Stay informed. Don't miss a minute of your favorite talk shows. Call, text, tweet, post. WHBR TV 33 is worldwide on Fire Stick. For more information, go to FirestickTVNetwork.com or call us at 313-868-6612. WHBR TV 33, a Watkins Broadcasting Company. We would like to invite you to help support the efforts of the Unity and Rebuilding Fund. Visit the website at www.unityandrebuildingfund.com. That's www.unityandrebuildingfund.com. We often hear how we need to work together to rebuild the city, and we're actually doing it. You can make online donations and click on links to track the progress of the Unity and Rebuilding Fund. And for more information, 313-868-0000 is the local number. Again, 313-868-0000. Support the Unity and Rebuilding Fund. You're watching WHBS, Highland Park, Detroit. FM 88.1 WHBR, the Highland Park. WBIE 107.3 FM show, Amalia, Virgin Islands. The views and opinions expressed on the following show are not necessarily the views and opinions of WHBS, its affiliates, management, or sponsors. Brothers and sisters, are you tired of reading the Holy Scriptures and not really understanding?
This conference is being recorded. The recording has started.
Is that what you feel you know? With someone that has a different view than your own? Then let's talk with one another. Then let's reason with one another on a scriptural discussion with the Son of Man every Wednesday at 9 p.m., Friday at 9 p.m., and Sunday at 12 noon on WHBR TV Detroit Live, 88.1 FM. WHBR, why don't you call and discuss the Holy Bible, and if you have one, the Holy Quran, and come to an agreement about the Holy Scriptures and their true meaning. You can call us live on the air at area code 313-868-4336, 313-868-0342, or 313-868-0351. That's 313-868-4336, 313-868-0342, or 313-868-0351. And now, let's go live with a scriptural discussion with the Son of Man.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, the Truthful, and the Most Just. I greet all of you once again who have the hunger and thirst for righteousness. I greet you specifically with the greeting words of peace. May Allah's salam alaikum. Beg your pardon? Okay. I want to say that we are going to get right into the Mueller report. And But before I do, I want to give anyone that thinks they have an argument against me or anything they have heard me say or teach. I wouldn't have said it if I didn't think I could defend what I said. This world is filled with liars. They say things, and then when you question them about what they say, they try to make it look like you are attacking them. When they created the question that you asked. Whatever you are doing, it's just like when I was 22 years old, when I came into the Nation of Islam. When I accepted the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they taught us in the FOI class that a Muslim is always aware of where he's at, what he's doing, and why. If you walking down the street, you're not just out there. You have a specific reason for being out there. Even if it's just to take a walk. But never just haphazardly doing something and don't know why you're doing it. How's that sound, grown man? Why are you doing that? I don't know. That's what children say. I don't know. When they're doing something, they got no business. They don't. And what they really saying is that I can't give you no justifiable reason why I'm doing this. And they can't say what they would like to say. I'm doing it because I want to. So what's left? I don't know. I don't know. Well, everything I say and do, I know why I'm saying it and doing it. When I'm standing up here, I know what I'm saying. I know when I'm talking to people, I know who I'm talking to. It's like the foolish man who told me this ain't doing black people no good. I don't care. What it really was, it ain't doing white people no good. They the one in charge, and I'm trying to save their country for them. He was just projecting. And the truth of the matter is, it makes me no difference. Allah said to me, son of man, give them warning whether they do some good or not. So I don't really care to hear people coming in here with their facetiousness. You know, when you are standing up, showing, when you are speaking, or when you go any place and conduct yourself in a respectful manner, and people turn around and conduct themselves disrespectfully towards you, don't keep talking to them. If it's your house, put them out. If it's their house, shake the dust off of your feet and get out of there. Anytime a person refuses to receive good from you, the only thing that's left for that person to receive is evil. And that's what's coming after good, after they slap good away. That's what turned the other cheek meant. If your enemy smites you on your right cheek, do what? You know who's on the right hand of God is his friends. Those on the left hand of God, he said he gonna cast them into everlasting damnation. Just remember this, whatever side you choose, you ain't gonna be able to switch sides when you see the result of your choice. It's like a lot of people think that because I'm willing to forgive, that I'm stupid or weak. Wait and see. I didn't tell you something about, maybe I did tell y'all, but just in case I didn't. When I saw black people and white people walking around in this country and couldn't blink their eyes, I was mad at all of them, and I didn't even know why I was mad at them. Did I tell y'all that? Yeah, well, I was mad at everybody, and I didn't know why. And the little sister that was walking with me, her name was Nadine. And she and I had been talking and whatnot. And so she was walking with me. And I looked at her and I asked her, I said, what's wrong with them? And before I did that, it was a big, tall black man walking. And he was walking and just looking straight ahead. And she was with me. And I didn't really observe how he was looking, but it looked like he was staring at her. And I asked him, what are you looking at? And he didn't say nothing. He just, you know. And then I discovered that all of them was like that. And I asked her, I said, what's wrong with them? And she said, those are your brothers and sisters who rejected Islam. And I went from being mad to feeling sorry for them. And then she said, what? You going back with them? I hadn't said nothing to her. Well, I know now it was Allah speaking to me through her. And I said, if that's where I belong. That's the one thing that is paramount to be chosen by God. You must love his people like he does, even with your life. And so, as Prophet Muhammad said, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad echoed it, and Jesus said it, which Prophet Muhammad echoed Jesus's teachings when he said, you must love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus echoed Moses. As you would that men do to you, that's what you should do to them. It's just like if I was, it's just like with my followers. If I was in your place, I've been in your place, I've been a follower. And I remember having to, when I was sitting there, young and impressionable, a young mind is a shallow mind. The knowledge is like going into the swimming pool. If you've been in the public pool before, they have 2 feet, 4 feet, and 5 feet, and then 10 feet. But at least that's the way it was when I was growing up. And you start off at the shallow end. Your knowledge is very shallow. You don't have much. It takes much longer for a man to mature than a woman. And that's by design. See, the woman is the first teacher. The woman must mature fast. The woman is the mother. So she has to mentally grow rapidly in order to be able to mother humanity. You notice little boys, they automatically. No little boy thought he needed to protect his daddy. Ain't never no little boy ever thought he needed to protect his daddy. But when it come to his mama, he'll run up and kick you. And you say something about his mama, he ready to do something to you. You touch his mama, he ready to do something to you. I remember I picked up a broom because my daddy was hollering at my mama. And he looked at me and just, he had taught us to respect our and love our mother. He ain't never hit my mother. But he got so angry. It sounded to me like he was so angry and hollering at her. And I picked up a broom handle. And I forgot, I told him something like, you better not hit my mama. And he looked at me. He never said a word to me about that. Because all I was doing was what he taught me to do. He said, you don't fight girls. But anyway, so it took a young man. Let me tell you something about man. If a man really believes in something, if he really believes in it, and every man that's listening, I don't care what color you are. Any man that truly believes in something, he'll give his life for that. That is in the nature of manhood. It's just like any mother will run into a lion's cage if she really love her baby. Her motherly instinct will make her run and jump on a lion to save her baby. That's godly love, godly commitment. That's why it's written, greater love hath no man than this, that he lay down his life for his friend. Anytime someone will, you see, on the shallow end of that, it just means you go and put your life on the line and maybe get killed trying to save somebody. But that's shallow. But when you are willing to stop what you're doing that is important to you to care about someone else's well-being, that's laying your life down to help somebody else. Everybody ain't willing to do that. How many times you done asked somebody to do something, they say, I ain't got time. I ain't got time. I love you, but I don't love you that much. That's what they're telling you. Do you understand? Okay, I want to lighten the moment a little. But I want you to understand that the position of leadership is not just earned once. It is earned every day. A leader, just like a father, he cannot just be a father for a day. He has to be one every day. My daddy used to be sitting there eating and my mother be done fed us. He'd be sitting there eating and he said, we'd be coming out, maybe come out, look at him. Daddy, can I have something? He said, here, give it to us. When we pull that on my mama, She said, you done ate. Now get yourself over there and sit down. He fussed at her. He said, girl, you ought not be like that. She said, all you doing is teaching them to be selfish. I thought about that when I heard her say that in front of me. I stopped trying to ask for a plate because I wasn't really hungry. And that is selfish. But anyway, I remember this, and I ain't trying to condemn the brother or nothing like that, because I like Minister Clarence. Minister Clarence they sure knew who to get up there and ask for the money. Minister Clarence would get up there and he said, we don't want no loud money. Put that quiet money in that bucket. And so I dig in my pocket and give some of my dollars. And we were so gung ho. They say, let the rent man wait. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad needs that money. Take my rent and give it in there. Because I like to give in charity. I've always liked to give. The messenger was like that too. And then I wind up having to slip past my landlord and climb through the window, sneaking into my house, and gave my light bill money. And that's how foolish I was. And when I say foolish, I don't mean you're a fool for giving. I mean, it's a foolish act to give money that does not belong to you. So I wind up not having no lights and no electricity because they got cut off. And I wind up having soon no place to live because I didn't use good sense, which is what young people always wind up doing. So they need guidance. And the ones who was guiding us, that's where they fell short. They wanted to do all they could. And I guess most of them thought that we had a little common sense, but most people don't know what common sense is. I once heard this old lady that we used to listen to. Her name was Moms Mabley, and she said, she was a comedian, and she said, "Common sense ain't common." And and the way she said it, it was funny. But most people, they think common sense means sense that everybody has. But no, common sense means that it's a understanding that people of the same mindset have that in common. Do you understand? Common sense for a rich man ain't common sense for a poor man. On the other hand, common sense for a poor man ain't nothing to a rich man. You see? So it's time that you understand to stop using blanket statements, using statements that you really don't understand what you're saying. So I want to say this to all of you who have businesses. I want to say this to all of you who work in businesses for other people. The word of God is so profound that it makes no difference what your status is. The word of God is applicable to you. Because the word of God always makes you put yourself just for a moment in the other person's position. As good as saying, if your roles were reversed, what would you expect? If you're an employer, put yourself in the position of the employee. How would you expect to be treated? How would you like to be treated? Then treat your employee like that. If you are the employee, put yourself in the position of your employer. And if you had people working in your company, what would you expect from them? Give that same thing to your employer. Do you understand? It don't get no better. That's the way of peace. And can't nobody claim authorship of that simple but profound statement but God. How do you know that Allah is the best knower? Because you notice once Allah says a thing, there ain't no better way of saying it. When you try to put it in other words, you mess it up. It's like, as I told you, the universe, the knowledge of the universe is always fractions. There's no such thing as knowing all of the truth. You can only know parts of the truth. You see? Now, when it comes to particular things, you can learn all of the truth about a particular thing. But that ain't all of the truth. You can learn the truth of a tree and what makes it grow and what makes it die and all of that. You can learn, but that's just a fraction of the knowledge that you get from studying a part of the universe. Do you understand? And so, the best knower, as with all, once you became knowledgeable and got the knowledge of fractions from someone who knew better than you, and then they brought you to their level, you learned to be able to use the words that was taught to you by that knower, that best knower, which was your teacher, that a fraction is incomplete until you reduce it to its simplest terms. It's not enough to know how to reduce 50 100ths to 25 50ths. They show you the long way of doing it so that you can grasp the concept of reducing something, making something that looks big or confusing, make it simple. Right? There you go. And so now I want to, that's why it's so profound that in just one sentence, Allah explained to us how to make peace and live in peace on earth. As you would like to be treated, treat others. There's no such thing as a person going around beating up on people and bullying people, saying that that's how he would like to be treated. There's no such creature. Because if that's how you feel, let me get a baseball bat and get a hold of you. Let's see how much you like it. I'll tell you who would hate tyranny the most is the tyrant. So, now this is what I do. I am the leader and teacher of the new nation of Islam. My concern is for my followers first, not my family, because once you become the leader, everybody becomes your family. Do you understand that? And if you don't understand that, that's why you're not no leader. Certain things you cannot teach. It's either in you or it's not. Leaders are not made, they are born. It's like saying you got to teach a fish how to swim. If he's a fish, you don't have to teach him how to swim. Why you think the book says the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto? He didn't come here to be taught. I came to teach. That's why I asked you the question. Who taught me the understanding of the Holy Scriptures? Who taught it to me? And since you can't claim you know somebody who taught it to me, then how am I knowing it? It's my nature. And that wasn't my doing. This is the Lord of the world's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. That's what the prophets told you. That the stone that the builders rejected, the leadership of the Nation of Islam rejected me. They didn't think I was nobody to be followed. And when I tried to go to him and tell him I'm the Son of Man, you remember Brother Donald? He kind of chuckled when he said, when I told him I'm the Son of Man, he said, yes, yes. And he chuckled. Because they didn't know me as that. They knew me as Marvin AX. And that's all they had known me as. Just like the people who was with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad under Master Farad Muhammad. Master Farad Muhammad didn't tell nobody he was God. He didn't tell the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him that's who he was. Then he said, yes, that's right, but who knows that? And don't you tell anybody until after I'm gone. You see? And that's what happened. And then when he wasn't here no more, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad started telling people, most of them wouldn't follow him. He had to go and raise up a nation that would follow him. And that's exactly what he did. So I want to say to all of you, if you have a business, now, you know the scripture says, except your righteousness exceed that of the, where's that at, brother? Of the scribes and Pharisees. It's very important that you listen to this. Because if you think that Allah going to take one wise crook down to put up another one in his place, you in for a rude awakening. Matthew chapter 5. In what verse? Thank you. in the 5th chapter of Matthew and the 20th verse, it says, Jesus said, "For I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed." Exceed means to be greater than. Exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, you shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. Now, let me tell you something about a history of a man that I, based on what I read of him, it's just like all I can admire Jesus for is what I have read in his word, in the gospel. It's a history of some of what Jesus accomplished. Huh? I admire George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and those for, if for nothing else, it's their understanding and their linguistic skills and their wisdom in drafting that document called the Constitution of the United States. The Declaration of Independence is a work of art, man. And I tell you what, when you mock it, let me see you write something equal to it. You know, jealous people, they always try to make, when I was a child, you know, the ones, if a child came to school, sharp, cleaner than the Board of Health. And here's some little raggedy something sitting up there. Look at you. You don't look like nothing in that. And the truth of the matter is, he was projecting. He the one didn't look like nothing. Jealousy is a terrible thing. Envy and jealousy. But anyway, as I was thinking over Henry Ford, you know, what Ford Motor Company, the roots of, yeah. Henry Ford, he didn't claim to be no saint, but he was a very wise businessman. He understood the principle that a fast nickel beats a slow dime. He also understood the principle of, why would you have people producing products that they can't afford to buy? So he made sure his employees could afford the vehicles that they was building. You know, whenever you care about others, you know what that does for you? And when I say care, I'm not talking about lip profession. There's a whole lot of people holler, I care about you, and don't give a damn about you. I mean, you know who I learned to vote for president? The one that I thought cared about the whole country. If he could convince me that he really cares and is patriotic to this nation, he got my vote. Now that's that. See, that sums it all up. You ain't never gonna please everybody. But I know if you care about the whole country, you're gonna try. And that's all anybody can ask of you. But anyway, now I'll get back to this caring. When you care about others, all of them ain't gonna care about you, but enough of them will to make you and them successful. Some people are slow learners. So you can't wait around. You can't wait around for everybody to learn how much you care for them. You go on to work with those that you can work with, and the others will get on board later. As the old saying, get in where you fit in. But I can't stand here and hold up the train because you can't make up your mind whether or not you want to get on it. Yeah. We got to go on and do this. We'll be back around. Huh? Maybe next time when you see more, you'll decide to get on board. But you should never let yourself as the owner of a business be seen as living well while the people who helped you to live well are in poverty. The best thing that you can do with your business is to make the employees feel that it is their business and your progress is their progress. And the only way to make them feel that way is to make sure that they are taken care of first. That gives them incentive to get up and go to work and make that business successful. If anybody gonna sacrifice in the house, the father is always the one that will do without. And the mother, they'll do without to take care of their children. I don't want nobody to be able to truthfully say that man robbing y'all. You can't say I'm robbing my followers. I'm looking out for my followers. Even people who have left me ain't never went out there and said nothing like that about me. Because that would be a bold-faced lie. So I'm not preaching something to you business people that I'm not practicing. Stop always wanting things to just come to you. Me, 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 me. Think about them people that's working for you. Think about those people and their families. And always take care of the people that's keeping your business open, that's helping you keep it open. Take care of them. Take care of them first. And if your family don't understand, you tell them, hey, this is our business, but they are our employees and we got to take care of them. And watch how Allah bless you. Allah loves the doers of good to others. You can't sing that song. There's a whole lot of people sing that song. You can't beat God given. You sure ain't gonna try, are you? Well, I'm gonna tell you something. I know that song is true. Because I don't care how much I give. A lot of times I give it and I have to chuckle to myself because somebody, right after I done gave away something, somebody come up and say, here, son, man, I just got this. And give it right back. I'm not talking about nothing spooky. Whatever I give to any of you, I'm not sitting up wishing I hadn't gave it, because now I'm hurting. I ain't hurt for nothing I gave you. Nothing. Well, don't be a user in the wrong way of people. That's what misuse means. It means to use people in the wrong way. I've had people come and want to work for me and tell me, son of man, I ain't gonna charge you for that. I say, well, I appreciate that. Now, if I didn't have it to pay you, I would appreciate it. But I'm not gonna keep money in my pocket when I know that you don't work for me and then don't give you something. Now here, you got to take something. Don't get in the habit of always wanting someone to just give you. Don't get in that habit, because it leads, after a while, people keep giving you. Pretty soon you expect people to just give you for nothing. So don't do that. Don't do that. You know, I'm always thinking of the best way to make sure that the people benefit that gave me a penny. Believe me, I don't sit down and agonized over ways that how can I help these people that have helped me? So I got plans that I don't tell nobody. I learn to stop telling everybody everything you think you want to do or whatever, because in the first place, when you're not totally free, you can make plans and they ain't all the time gonna come to pass. So if you don't put your word out there, then you ain't broke your word. You know, I try not to ever put my word out there if I don't see my way clear to keep it. You see, because the minute you put your word out there, somebody that hurts you might want to try to make a lie out of you. Well, you think God's word he put in parables and stuff. So people wind up doing what he said, and then when he explained the parable, and then say, "Oh man, you thought you was doing something that wasn't prophesied. Here it is, right here. We knew you was gonna do it." Then they feel cheap. So I want you to remember, take care of other people. If you're working for somebody, work for them like you would want if they was working for you. If someone is under you, treat them and expect no more from them than you would want to be expected of you if you was in their position. That's righteousness. And people get mad at me because I show respect for the white man in his house, in his country. If it was my country, I would want him to respect me. What is wrong with you? I'm not here to do things like the white man did it. I don't want no slave. I don't want people feeling that they got to be afraid of me. You get enough people afraid of you, the next thing they plotting on your life. No, you ain't got nothing to fear from me. I don't want to do nothing but good to you. If I can't do that, I'll leave you alone. And I tell you, just stay away from me. Now, when you ready to do what's right, welcome. You can come around me. Now, if that don't get it for you, well, stay away from me. So now I'm going to go on here and do what needs to be done. We're going to go on and read from the Mueller report. This is on page 120. I'm going to start at the top of the page. I think I'm at the top. Let me see here. Just to refresh it, yes.
Excuse me, someone, man. May Allah salam alaikum.
May wa alaikum Allah salam.
Something about the TV. I'm trying to know if that's right. You think they're going to always be like that?
Beg your pardon?
The TV, the television, and the DVDs, them act right when the wind be blowing hard.
Look. When you better try to get these classes while the weather is good, because the weather gonna get just as bad as you people are getting.
Okay.
So you like I said, you get in class, pay attention, and I'm not gonna keep on begging none of y'all to do nothing.
Okay, because I was wondering
okay.
How they can get them.
Well, like I said, when see, that's a big problem right there. That's something that I've told y'all while I'm talking, to not be trying to run your mouth too. And I know you heard me talking.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry about that.
No, you're not, because you keep doing it.
Sorry.
You know, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm about, to be a willful, foolish person. I don't even care to talk to you. When I see somebody is willfully ignorant, I don't want to talk to you no more. Because I know that no matter what I say to you, it's like pouring water in a bucket with a hole in it. Sorry, don't get it.
Hey, go ahead.
Why don't you correct yourself and mute your phone back?
Yes,
sir. The reason that we are so foolish is because people put up with our foolishness. I'm not the kind of person that will let you be foolish and just don't say nothing. I'm going to be polite. I don't need to be polite. I need to correct you. Tired of the whole world looking at us, shaking their head and acting like we are some kind of got leprosy or something. Now you either gonna wise up and get with me, or you gonna be walking around here, can't blink your eyes pretty soon. Now that's what's coming. That go for every one of you. The whole world is being judged. You hear about them cyclones and stuff hitting these countries? You're going to straighten yourselves up or you ain't going to be here. The mention by Eamon Agalarov was Natalia pardon me, the grand jury redaction they had there, somebody mentioned by Eamon Agalarov was Natalia Veselnitskaya from approximately 1998 until 2001. Veselnitskaya worked as a prosecutor for the Central Administrative District of the Russian Prosecutor's Office. And she continued to perform government-related work and maintain ties to the Russian government following her departure. She lobbied and testified about the Magnitsky Act, which imposed financial sanctions and travel restrictions on Russian officials, and which was named for a Russian tax specialist who exposed a fraud and later died in a Russian prison. Putin called the statute a purely political, unfriendly act. And Russia responded by barring a list of current and former U.S. officials from entering Russia and by halting the adoption of Russian children by U.S. citizens. Veselnitskaya performed legal work for Denis Katsy. K-A-T. What did you say?
Why are you concerned with this, sir?
I'm going to ask you to slow down and ask that question where I can hear you. Now, why did I what?
I am asking you, sir, why are you concerned with this?
Put him out of here. It says, the son of Russian businessman Peter Katz, and for his company Prevezon Holdings Ltd, which was a defendant in a civil forfeiture action alleging the laundering of proceeds from the fraud exposed by Magnitsky. She also, just a moment, let me make sure I'm getting the right thing. She also appears to have been involved, this is page 121, appears to have been involved in an April 2016 approach to a U.S. congressional delegation in Moscow offering, quote, confidential information from, quote, the prosecutor general of Russia about, quote, interactions between certain political forces in our two countries. Now, what you just saw me put him out for was, to ask me why am I interested in the Mueller report is a very facetious question. Do black people pay taxes in America? How did Mr. Mueller get paid? Somehow tax money, right? And that report was delivered to the Congress, which is filled with whose representatives? Some of those representatives up there are ours, aren't they? Didn't they tell us that you've heard them say on the news, and they've said some of the Congress people have said that everyone needs to read this report? How many times have I said if Mr. Mueller, if the FBI spent the last 2 years investigating the interference by Russia into the United States election, and then gave a report to the American people. The least we could do is take the time to read it. What do you do when you turn to a news broadcast or anything, or a movie or whatever, that you're not interested in the content? You stop watching it, don't you? See, I'm through listening to him try to change his voice after apologizing to me for acting a fool, then want to come in here and keep interjecting things that make no sense. May Allah do to him what he wished he could do to me. Now, shortly after his June 3rd call with Emin Agalarov, Goldstone emailed Trump Jr. The email stated, "Good morning. Emin just called and asked me to contact you with something very interesting. The Crown Prosecutor of Russia met with his father, Aris, this morning, and in their meeting offered to provide the Trump campaign with some official documents and information that would incriminate Hillary and her dealings with Russia and would be very useful to your father. This is obviously very high level and sensitive information, but is part of Russia and its government's support for Mr. Trump, helped along by Aris and Emin. What do you think is the best way to handle this information, and would you be able to speak to Emin about it directly? I can also send this info to your father via Rhonda, but it is ultra sensitive, so wanted to send it to you first. Best, Rob Goldstone." Within minutes of this email, Trump Jr. responded, emailing back, quote, "Thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. I am on the road at the moment, but perhaps I just speak to Emin first. Seems we have some time, and if it's what you say, I love it, especially later in the summer. Could we do a call first? Could we do a call first thing next week when I'm back?" Goldstone conveyed Trump Jr.'s interest to Emin Agalarov, emailing that Trump Jr. wants to speak personally on the issue. Now here, they conspiring. Huh? Okay. On June 6, 2016, Emin Agalarov asked Goldstone if there was, quote, any news. And Goldstone explained that Trump Jr. was likely still traveling for the, quote, final elections where Trump will be crowned the official nominee. On the same day, Goldstone again emailed Trump Jr. and asked when Trump Jr. was, quote, free to talk with Emin about this Hillary info. Trump Jr. asked if page 122, if they could, quote, speak now. And Goldstone arranged a call between Trump Jr. and Emin Agalarov. On June 6th and June 7th, Trump Jr. and Emin Agalarov had multiple brief calls. Also, on June 6, 2016, Aris Agalarov called the Kavlats and asked him, called Ike Kavlas and asked him to attend a meeting in New York with the Trump organization. Kavlats is a Georgia-born naturalized U.S. citizen who worked in the United States for the Crocus Group and reported to Aris Agalarov, Aris Agalarov. Kavlats told the office, the FBI office, that in a second phone call on June 6, 2016, Aris Agalarov asked Kavlats if he knew anything about the Magnitsky Act, and Aris sent him a short synopsis for the meeting and Veselnitskaya's business card. He sent him a short synopsis for the meeting and Veselnitskaya's business card. According to Kavlats, Aris Agalarov said the purpose of the meeting was to discuss the Magnitsky Act, and he asked Kavlats to translate. Subtitle, I assume that's Roman numerals 2 small i's 2. It says, awareness of the meeting with the campaign. On June 7, Goldstone emailed Trump Jr. and said that, quote, Emin asked that I schedule a meeting with you and the Russian government attorney who is flying over from Moscow. Trump Jr. replied that Manafort, identified as the quote unquote campaign boss, Jared Kushner and Trump Jr. would likely attend. Goldstone was surprised to learn that Trump Jr., Manafort, and Kushner would attend. Kavlats, and then it's got a grand jury, something that's redacted. Kavlats and somebody else, I guess, quote, puzzled by the list of attendees and that he checked with one of Emin Agalarov's assistants, Roman Beniaminov, Roman Beniaminov, who said that the purpose of the meeting was for Veselnitskaya to convey, quote, negative information on Hillary Clinton. Beniaminov, however, stated that he did not recall having known or said that. Early on June 8, 2016, Kushner emailed his assistant asking her to discuss a 3 p.m. Meeting. Now, remember they said earlier that Kushner had turned down to try to do anything with the Russians. He was in on it. But anyway, it says a 3 p.m. meeting the following day with Trump Jr. Later that day, Trump Jr. forwarded the entirety of his email correspondence regarding the meeting with Goldstone to Manafort and Kushner under the subject line, quote, FW Russia-Clinton private and confidential, unquote, adding a note that the, quote, meeting got moved to 4 o'clock tomorrow at my offices. Kushner then sent his assistant a second email informing her that, quote, the meeting with Don Jr. is 4 p.m. now. It's 4 p.m. now. Manafort responded, quote, see you then. P. I guess that's Paul. Rick Gates who was the deputy campaign chairman, stated during interviews with the FBI office, that in the days before June 9th, 2016, Trump Jr. announced at a regular morning meeting of senior campaign staff and Trump family members that he had a lead on negative information about the Clinton Foundation. Gates believed that Trump Jr. said the information was coming from a group in Kyrgyzstan, and that he was introduced to the group by a friend. Gates recalled that the meeting was attended by Trump Jr., Eric Trump, Paul Manafort, Hope Hicks, and joining late, Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner. According to Gates, Manafort warned the group that the meeting likely would not yield vital information and they should be careful. Hicks denied any knowledge of the June 9 meeting before 2017. And Kushner did not recall if the planned June 9 meeting came up at all earlier that week. As that word can't recall. Huh? Michael Cohen recalled being in Donald J. Trump's office on June 6th or 7th when Trump Jr. told his father that a meeting to obtain adverse information about Clinton was going forward. Cohen did not recall Trump Jr. stating that the meeting was connected to Russia. From the tenor of the conversation, Cohen believed that Trump Jr. had previously discussed the meeting with his father, although Cohen was not involved in any such conversation. Well, if he said the meeting was going to go forward, well, then it was clear that they had already discussed what meeting. Is that right? Okay. In an interview with the Senate Judiciary Committee, however, Trump Jr. stated that he did not inform his father about the emails or the upcoming meeting. Similarly, neither Manafort nor Kushner recalled anyone informing candidate Trump of the meeting, including Trump Jr. Now, how in the world are you in the hierarchy of a campaign of a candidate, but you ain't keeping him informed about what's going on? I told you, the only way you can support a liar is you got to be a liar too. Do you understand? All right. Then it says, President Trump has stated to this office in written answers to questions that he has, quote now, he stated in writing, no recollection of learning at the time, unquote. What that supposed to mean? At what time? You see that? He don't have no recollection at the time that his son Manafort or quote Kushner was considering participating in a meeting in June 2016 concerning potentially negative information about Hillary Clinton. Well, what was all that stuff he was talking about? He's going to have an announcement to make and all that kind of stuff about the Clinton people. Well, anyway, let's see here. Still on page 124, it says subtitle B, the events of June 9th, 2016. Roman numeral 1, I guess that instead of, it says arrangements for the meeting. Veselnitskaya was in New York on June 9th, 2016 for appellate proceedings in the Trevisan civil forfeiture litigation. That day, Veselnitskaya called Renat Akhmetshin, a Soviet-born U.S. lobbyist, and redacted. And when she learned that he was in New York, invited him to lunch. Akhmetshin told the office that he had worked on issues relating to the Magnitsky Act and had worked on the Prevezon litigation. Kavlats and Anatoly Samokornov That's Samokornov, just a moment. Let me scroll down here. A Russian-born translator, Samokornov, a Russian-born translator who had assisted Veselnitskaya with that Magnitsky Act related lobbying and the Prevezon case, also attended the lunch. Veselnitskaya said she was meeting, and then it's redacted, and asked Akhmetshin what she should tell him. According to several participants in the lunch, Veselnitskaya showed Akhmetshin a document alleging financial misconduct by Bill Browder and the Ziff brothers, in parentheses, Americans and business in Russia. And those individuals subsequently making political donations to the DNC. And then it's redacted. The group then went to Trump Tower for the meeting. And subtitle 2, Roman numeral 2, conduct of the meeting. Trump Jr., Manafort, and Kushner participated on the Trump side, while Kavlats, Samokornov, Akhmetshin, and Goldstone attended with Veselnitskaya. The office spoke to every participant except Veselnitskaya and Trump Jr. The latter of whom, Trump Jr., declined to be voluntarily interviewed by the office. The meeting lasted approximately, it's a lot of redactions there. The meeting lasted approximately 20 minutes. Goldstone recalled that Trump Jr. invited Veselnitskaya to begin, but did not say anything about the subject of the meeting. Participants agreed that Veselnitskaya stated that the Ziff brothers had broken Russian laws and had donated their profits to the DNC or the Clinton campaign. She asserted that the Ziff brothers had engaged in tax evasion and money laundering. Kavlets, there's a lot of redactions there. Kavlets, 11, 16, 17, November the 16th, 2017, 3:02 at, it's telling you where to go and verify. 3:02 at 7, and then grand jury. Subject matter of the Trump Tower meeting coming up at lunch. But anyway, let's go back to this, what he was saying here. Now, it says that she asserted that the Ziff brothers had engaged in tax evasion and money laundering in both the United States and Russia. and then it's redactions. According to Akhmetshin, Trump Jr. asked follow-up questions about how the alleged payments could be tied specifically to the Clinton campaign. But Veselnitskaya indicated that she could not trace the money once it entered the United States. Kavlets similarly recalled that Trump Jr. asked what they have on Clinton, and Kushner became aggravated and asked, quote, "What are we doing here?" Akhmetshin then spoke about U.S. sanctions imposed under the Magnitsky Act and Russia's response prohibiting U.S. adoption of Russian children. Several participants recalled that Trump Jr. commented that Trump is a private citizen and there was nothing they could do at that time. Trump Jr. also said that they could revisit the issue if and when they were in government. Notes that Manafort took on his phone reflect the general flow of the conversation, although not all of its details. See, now, he spoke for his father there. Huh? If we get elected and if we get in government, then we can talk about this. Huh? All right. At some point in the meeting, Kushner sent an iMessage to Manafort stating, quote, "Waste of time," followed immediately by two separate emails to assistant at Kushner's companies with to assistants at Kushner companies with requests that page 127 that they call him to give him an excuse to leave. Samokornov recalled that Kushner departed the meeting before it concluded. Veselnitskaya recalled the same when interviewed by the press in July 2017. Veselnitskaya's press interviews and written statements to Congress differ materially from other accounts. In a July 2017 press interview, Veselnitskaya claimed that she has no connection to the Russian government and had not referred to any derogatory information concerning the Clinton campaign when she met with Trump campaign officials. Veselnitskaya's November 2017 written submission to the Senate Judiciary Committee stated that the purpose of the June 9th meeting was not to connect with, quote, unquote, the Trump campaign, but rather to have, quote, unquote, a private meeting with Donald Trump Jr., a friend of my good acquaintance's son, on the matter of assisting me or my colleagues in informing the Congress members as to the criminal nature of manipulation and interference with the legislative activities of the U.S. Congress, unquote. In other words, Veselnitskaya claimed her focus was on Congress and not the campaign. No witness, however, recalled any reference to Congress during the meeting. Veselnitskaya also maintained that she, quote, attended the meeting as a lawyer of Dennis Katsev, unquote, the previously mentioned owner of Prevzon Holdings, but she did not, quote, introduce herself in this capacity. In July 2017, television interview, in a July 2017 television interview, Trump Jr. stated that while he had no way to gauge the reliability, credibility, or accuracy of what Goldstone had stated was the purpose of the meeting. If, quote, someone has information on our opponent, maybe this is something. I should hear them out. He said, he cleaned it up now. Trump Jr. further stated in September 2017 congressional testimony that he thought he should, quote, listen to what Rob and his colleagues had to say, unquote. Depending on what, if any, information was provided, Trump Jr. stated he could then, quote, consult with counsel to make an informed decision as to whether to give it any further consideration. He had no business meeting with the Russians to talk about no information about Hillary Clinton. But anyway, page 128. After the June 9 meeting concluded, Goldstone apologized to Trump Jr. According to Goldstone, he told Trump Jr., and it's redacted, and told Eamon Agalarov in a phone call that the meeting was about adoption. And then it's redacted a little more. It says, Iris Agalarov asked Kavlitz to report in after the meeting. But before Kavlitz could call, Iris Agalarov called him with Veselnitskaya next to him. Kavlitz reported that the meeting had gone well, but he later told Iris Agalarov that the meeting about the Magnitsky Act had been a waste of time because it was not with lawyers and they were, quote, preaching to the wrong crowd. No, it wasn't preaching to the wrong crowd. They were trying to talk about what's going to be done about Magnitsky if Donald Trump became president. Do you understand? Okay. Then, and this is another subtitle C, post-June 9 events. Veselnitskaya and Iris Agalarov made at least 2 unsuccessful attempts after the election to meet with Trump representatives to convey similar information about Browder and the Magnitsky Act. On November, thought they were preaching to the wrong crowd. Huh? But they're still talking to him. Okay. It says on November 23rd, 2016, Kavlitz emailed Goldstone about setting up another meeting, quote, with T people, with Trump people, and sent to show a whole lot of meetings going on for nobody not to be, what do you say, colluding. Isn't that something? They sure having a lot of meetings, ain't they? They're having more meetings than we have. Anyway, it says, and sent a document bearing allegations similar to those conveyed on June 9th. Kavlitz followed up with Goldstone stating that Mr. Agalarov, Mr. A, quote, Mr. A, which Goldstone understood to mean Iris Agalarov. See, I catch on quick. Mr. A, Goldstone understood that to mean Iris Agalarov, called to ask about the meeting. Now, Goldstone emailed the document to Rona Graf, saying that, quote, Iris Agalarov has asked me to pass on this document in the hope it can be passed on to the appropriate team. If needed, a lawyer representing the case is in New York currently and happy to meet with any member of his transition team. According to Goldstone, around January 2017, Kavlatz contacted him again to set up another meeting, but Goldstone did not make the request. The investigation did not identify evidence of the transition team following up. Participants in the June 9, 2016 meeting, began receiving, we on page 129, by the way. Participants in the June 9, 2016 meeting began receiving inquiries from attorneys representing the Trump organization starting in approximately June 2017. On approximately June 2nd, 2017, Goldstone spoke with Alan Garden. Goldstone spoke with Alan Garden, general counsel of the Trump organization, about his participation in the June 9 meeting. The same day, Goldstone emailed Veselnitskaya's name. The Goldstone emailed Veselnitskaya's name to Garden, identifying her as the, quote, woman who was the attorney who spoke at the meeting from Moscow, unquote. Later in June 2017, Goldstone participated in a lengthier call with Garden and Alan Futterfoss. Excuse me. Excuse me, I ain't never heard that name before. Well, this is getting kind of deep here. Alan Futterfoss, outside counsel for the Trump organization, and in parentheses, and subsequently personal counsel for Trump Jr. On June 27th, 2017, Goldstone emailed Emin Agalarov with the subject, quote, Trump attorneys, and stated that he was, quote, interviewed by attorneys, end quote, about the June 9 meeting, who were, quote, concerned because it links Don Jr. to officials from Russia, which he has always denied meeting. Goldstone stressed that he, quote, did say at the time this was an awful idea and a terrible meeting, unquote. Emin Agalarov sent a screenshot of the message to Kavlatz. The June 9 meeting became public in July 2017. In a July 9th, 2017 text message to Emin Agalarov, Goldstone wrote, quote, I made sure I kept you and your father out of this story, unquote. And, quote, if contacted, I can do a dance and keep you out of it. There you go. There you go. Now, he gonna do a dance, huh? You know how people say you dance around the subject. You gonna do a talk around if asked about it. Now, here it is, right here. I mean, you don't have to keep them out of it if they ain't in it. What need is there to say, I'm going to keep y'all out of it? I'm going to do a dance around it. That's what he said. The June 9 meeting became public in July 2017. In a July 9 2017 text message to Eamon Agalarov, Goldstone wrote, I made sure I kept you and your father out of this story. And if contacted, I can do a dance and keep you out of it. Goldstone added, quote, FBI now investigating, unquote. And, quote, I hope this favor was worth for your dad. It could blow up, unquote. On July 12, 2017, Eamon Agalarov complained to Kavlitz that his father, Aris, quote, never listens to him, and that their so everybody wanted to stay out of this. Agalarov and wanted to keep their name out of it. Everybody wanted to be out of that. Huh? All right. But it wasn't no conspiracy. But then nobody want to know nobody was meeting. This is rich. So it says, let me get back to it. It says, so Agalarov complained to Kavlitz that his father, Aris, never listens, quote, never listens to him, and that their relationship with Mr. T, and we ain't talking about why these fellas know they can type, right? That their relationship with Mr. T has been thrown down the drain. The next month, Goldstone commented to Eamon Agalarov about the volume of publicity the June 9th meeting had generated, stating that his quote reputation was basically destroyed by this dumb meeting, which your father insisted on, even though Ike and me told him would be bad news and not do so, and not to do. Goldstone added, quote, I am not able to respond out of courtesy to you and your father, so am painted as some mysterious link to Putin. After public, I remember Goldstone was that little fat fella that it looked like a hobo. You wouldn't even thought he was into nothing. But anyway, after public reporting on the June 9 meeting began, representatives from the Trump organization again reached out to participants. On July 10th, 2017, Feudafos sent Goldstone an email with a proposed statement for Goldstone to issue, which read, as the person who arranged the meeting, I can definitively, that's what it says. I can definitively state that the statements I have read by Donald Trump Jr. are 100% accurate. The meeting was a complete waste of time, and now they sent him something to say. Let me read that again. After public reporting on the June 9 meeting began, representatives from the Trump organization again reached out to the participants of that meeting on that June 9th meeting. On July 10th, 2017, Feudafos, which is Trump Jr.'s lawyer, remember, he said he was his lawyer, right? Feudafos sent Goldstone an email with a proposed statement for Goldstone to issue, which read, everybody writing speeches for people. This is what they wanted Goldstone to say or to issue. As the person who arranged the meeting, I can definitively state, is there such word? Or is that what that is? Thank you, son. I can definitively. All right. Thank you. I don't use that word too much. I can definitively state that the statements I have read by Donald Trump Jr. are 100% accurate. The meeting was a complete waste of time, and Don was never told Miss Veselnitskaya's name prior to the meeting. Miss Veselnitskaya mostly talked about the Magnitsky Act and Russian adoption laws, and the meeting lasted 20 to 30 minutes at most. There was never any follow-up, and nothing ever came of the meeting. The statement drafted by the Trump Organization representatives was, and it's redacted, he proposed a different statement, asserting that he had been asked, quote, by his client in Moscow, Iman Agalarov, to facilitate a meeting between a Russian attorney, Natalia Veselnitskaya, and SIC, and Donald Trump Jr. The lawyer had apparently stated that she had some information regarding funding to the DNC from Russia, which she believed Mr. Trump Jr. might find interesting. Goldstone never released either statement. On the Russian end, there were also, now remember now that they tried to get Goldstein to release these false statements, and he didn't do it. On the Russian end, there were, and according to that, is people from the Trump Organization tried to get him to release them statements. On the Russian end, there were also communications about what participants should say about the June 9th meeting. You know, I'm starting to understand why that judge on Fox News, I guess he had an attack of conscience, and that he ain't interested in helping somebody just destroy his country. I mean, you reading this stuff, you can see conspiracy written all over it. It says, on the Russian end, there were also communications about what participants should say about the June 9th meeting. Specifically, the organization that hired Samokornov, an anti-Magnitsky Act group controlled by Veselnitskaya and the owner of Previzon, ordered to pay $90,000 of Samokornov's legal fees. At Veselnitskaya's request, the organization sent Samokornov a transcript of a Veselnitskaya press interview, and Samokornov understood that the organization would pay his legal fees only if he made statements consistent with Veselnitskaya's. Samokornov declined, telling the office that he did not want to perjure himself. Everybody lying. The individual, now you see why that boy didn't want me to read this. I want to thank those who, well, I'll do that later. The individual who conveyed Vessel Niskaya's request to Samokornov stated that he did not expressly condition payment in following Vessel Niskaya's answers, but in hindsight, recognized that by sending the transcript, Samokornov could have interpreted the offer of assistance to be conditioned on his not contradicting Vessel Niskaya's account. In other words, you done sent the man something that you want him to say, and you gonna pay his fees of fines or whatever. But you didn't mean, and then when he get caught and he goes say, well, we didn't just say that. He might have interpreted that. Yeah. Then it go on. It says in volume 2, section 2G, infra discussion interactions between President Trump Jr. and others in June. This is page 131, by the way, and July 2017, regarding the June 9 meeting. Subtitle 6. Events at the Republican National Convention. Trump campaign officials met with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak during the week of the Republican National Convention. The evidence indicates that those interactions were brief and non-substantive. During platform committee meetings immediately before the convention, J.D. Gordon, a senior campaign advisor on policy and national security, diluted a proposed amendment to the Republican Party platform expressing support for providing, quote, lethal assistance to Ukraine in response to Russian aggression. Gordon requested that platform committee personnel revise the proposed amendment to state that only appropriate, quote, unquote, appropriate assistance be provided to Ukraine. The original sponsor of the, quote, lethal assistance amended stated that Gordon told her, the sponsor, that he was on the phone with candidate Trump in connection with his request to dilute the language. Now, if there was nothing substantive in that meeting, why are they changing the platform? Okay. Then it says, Gordon denied making that statement to the sponsor, although he acknowledged it was possible he mentioned having previously spoken to the candidate about the subject matter. That's like saying, well, I don't remember saying that, but just in case you got a tape that I said it, I might have said it. Do you understand? Boy, these people is something. The investigation did not establish that Gordon spoke to or was directed by the candidate to make that proposal. Gordon said that he sought the change because he believed the proposed language was inconsistent with Trump's position on Ukraine. Trump ain't had no position on nothing. How could he have a position on anything when he ain't never been in politics? He didn't know nothing about the Ukraine. Huh? Well, anyway, next we have page 130. We still on 131. It says, subtitle A, Ambassador Kislyak encounters Ambassador Kislyak's encounters with Senator Sessions and J.D. Gordon the week of the RNC. In July 2016, Senator Sessions and Gordon spoke at the Global Partners in Diplomacy event, a conference co-sponsored by the State Department and the Heritage Foundation held in Cleveland, Ohio, the same week as the Republican National Convention. RNC or convention, quote, approximately 80 foreign ambassadors to the United States, including Kislyak, were invited to the conference. 80 of them. On July 20th, 2016, Gordon and Sessions delivered their speeches at the conference. In his speech, Gordon stated in pertinent part that the United States should have better relations with Russia. There it is. With Russia. During Sessions' speech, how do you have better relations with Russia when Russia is trying to fix your elections? In other words, Russia trying to destroy your democratic process. How do you stand up there and say you're trying to have better relations with them? You sound like that stuff that you remember when Rodney King got beat half to death and got out there talking about, can we all just get along? I'm sorry. You're not gonna beat me down and make me holler, well, can we all just get along? Man, you just don't know. Yeah, Russia here trying to put puppets in the government of America, and these fools standing up there talking about we want to have better relationships with Russia. If you want a better relationship with Russia, you need to make Russia respect you. It's just like I have better relationship with white folks because I make them respect me. You can't get no better relationship with somebody who feel they can run over you. You about dumb as a brick. During Sessions' speech, he took questions from the audience, one of which may have been asked by Kislyak. When the speeches concluded, several ambassadors lined up to greet the speakers. Gordon shook hands with Kislyak and reiterated that he had meant what he said in the speech about improving U.S.-Russia relations. It's like a frog coming up to shake hands with a snake. Somebody, I really want to improve our relations. And the snake say, yes. Sessions, boy, you got some dummies up there. You don't forget how embarrassing it was for President Reagan to stand up there and say, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. You don't forget how it made the KGB feel when the USSR disintegrated. Guess who they blamed for that? You about a dummy. Sessions separately spoke with between 6 and 12 ambassadors, including Kislyak, All those Sessions stated during interviews with the office that he had no specific recollection of what he discussed with Kislyak. Oh, no? What kind of people do liars pick to be with them? There you go. It says, all those Sessions stated during interviews. Now, let me show you what happens when you side with a liar. You remember the Christie, the Bridgegate thing? The woman that helped him shut that down, now she mad at him because he done threw her not under the bus, done threw her in the tailpipe. Now she mad. But she went along with the wrongdoing. What do you think somebody that will do just evil thing to strangers, that they have nothing that they can say them people did to them? Only time you see most politicians, that's how you can tell the difference in a politician and a statesman. You see politicians when it comes get close to time to run for election. You see statesmen, you might see them anytime, because they're about the business of trying to do the job that they were elected to do. But this lady was on the news last night, in Rachel Maddow's forum, where Bridget something, I forgot her name, but she's saying how Chris Christie, he was the one responsible for shutting that bridge down. She, did what he told her to do. She couldn't do that herself. She couldn't shut it down. They know that. But see, that's what happens when you, as the old saying go, you lay down with dogs. Why are you surprised that you got fleas when you got up? Look how Sessions was lying and going on and going along with Trump's program. And when it came time, and Sessions tried to kind of say, I can't go no further than that, Donald Trump turned on him. Since when do you think someone who is not loyal to their own country, you think they're going to be loyal to you? Okay, keep dreaming. So it says Sessions separately spoke with between 6 and 12 ambassadors, including Kislyak. Although Sessions stated during interviews with the office that he had no specific recollection of what he discussed with Kislyak, all of them used the same term. I have no recollection. I can't recall. I don't. Ain't that something? It says he believed that the two spoke for only a few minutes, and that they would have exchanged pleasantries and said some things about U.S.-Russia relations. Well, I guess so. Y'all been having private meetings and secret meetings and stuff. I guess it's U.S.-Russian relations. Y'all was knowing each other. Later that evening, Gordon attended a reception as part of the conference. Gordon ran into Kislyak as the two prepared plates of food and they decided to sit at the same table to eat. They were joined at that table by the ambassadors from Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan, and by Trump campaign advisor Carter Page. As they ate, Gordon and Kislyak talked for what Gordon estimated to have been 3 to 5 minutes. Oh, yeah. You notice how many times I done talked to you all for 2 hours and it didn't seem like but a few minutes. Like right now. Been 2 hours. Okay. Yeah, it just seemed about 3 to 5 minutes. And then it said, during which Gordon again mentioned that he meant what he said in his speech about improving U.S.-Russia relations. He should be made to explain what he meant by that. I mean, because you don't seem to want Russia to butt out of America's elections. If Russia wants to improve their relations with the United States, don't you think they can show a good faith sign by backing out of what they've been doing in their cyber region? Huh? I know you say ain't none of your business, nigga. Yeah, okay, right on. I'm just doing what I was told. Son of man, I have made you a watchman. Therefore, hear the word at my mouth and give them warning from me. When you see the sword come upon the country, upon the land, and you don't give them warning, well, then it's going to get them, but I'm going to hold you responsible. So Allah made me to show you, this is a show of good faith on my part. I'm showing you that I meant it when I said that I ain't got no dog in the hunt against you. I understand why slavery happened. I understand why I had to go through what I had to go through at your hands. I ain't after no revenge. Because in order to get revenge, and if I'm seeking revenge, then you could just easily say, look, I only did what God instructed me to do. So if you want to be mad at somebody, you can be mad at God. You notice, he could also say, you notice now, the minute you woke up and realized who you was, I left you alone. I'm a Muslim. I warned y'all about getting out here calling people Islamic terrorists. I told you there's no such a thing. And the only reason you saying that is because you want some of your stupid people to call themselves attacking me. Well, you go ahead. And you see what your country been catching. You just think you want to attack me. You don't want to attack me, boy. And some old silly Negroes want to pretend to be arguing with each other, thinking I'm going to get involved with it so he can accidentally shoot me. You are a damn fool. We know your game. I ain't worried about your bullets going on me. Tell me you ain't worried about my tornadoes and stuff going on you. I dare one of you to tell me that. Give me your address. We'll see if we can take that out your mouth. I told you, you're going to learn to be scared of me. Subtitle B, change to Republican Party platform. In preparation for the 2016, and we on page 132. In preparation for the 2016 convention, foreign policy advisors to the Trump campaign, working with the Republican National Committee, reviewed the 2012. Now, this is after them dinners. Everybody that said they wasn't nothing really discussed. It says, in preparation for the 2016 convention, foreign policy advisors to the Trump campaign, working with the Republican National Committee, reviewed the 2012 convention's foreign policy platform to identify divergence between the earlier platform and candidate Trump's positions. The campaign team discussed toning down language from the 2012 platform that identified Russia as the country's #1 threat, given the candidates' belief that there needed to be better U.S. relations with Russia. The RNC Platform Committee sent the 2016 draft platform to the National Security and Defense Platform Subcommittee on July 10th, 2016. The evening before its first meeting to propose amendments. Although, now, do you remember when they was talking about President Obama wasn't hard enough on Russia? No, don't you remember that? He got the president of Russia riding around with his shirt off, taking pictures with his shirt off, and that old silly woman Sarah Palin standing up there telling me, Putin is a man, and Barack Obama wearing mom jeans. And all the time, you don't know what was going on with these people in Russia. What didn't they say Putin was playing chess? What do you do in chess? What is the object of chess? The object of chess is for one dictator, a king. The object of it is that the king is to be put in a position where he's no longer king. He can be dethroned. The king of America is the Constitution. They've been whittling away at your Constitution by, I'll tell you what, look how the framers made it unconstitutional for people to be able to put more than a certain amount of money into the U.S. elections. They put people in Congress to change those laws. You know, knights and pawns and whatnot, changing your laws to pretty soon put your king, the Constitution, check and mate. Constitution is becoming less and less powerful, less and less. Like, you got a man in there who's obstructing justice openly. The Constitution says you can't do that. Why hasn't he been impeached? The Constitution says that if the Congress wants to subpoena anyone's income taxes, including the president, it is to be done. It is to be given up. That's the law. Why hasn't the Internal Revenue Service, the head of the Internal Revenue, why hasn't he turned over Donald Trump's tax returns? Why hasn't Donald Trump ordered him to turn him over? He took an oath to uphold the Constitution. Why isn't he doing it? And why are you letting him get away with it? Putin, anything Putin want him to do, he doing. He even say him and Kim Jong-un, they fell in love with each other. That's what he said. He said we fell in love. That's what he said. Now you tell me what that's supposed to be. Gave him an American that had been held prisoner over in North Korea. And the man was fatally ill when they gave him back, and he died here. What was they talking about behind closed doors? Maybe, I mean, all I can do is go by what I see. We got this prisoner here, and he's about to die, and you know that's going to look bad on your part. I can give him back, and that you can look like you bringing a prisoner home, and I can, it won't derail our friendship. Because if he die over here, your people going to demand that you have to do something. The next thing you know, he brings the man home and the man died. How long they been knowing each other? How long they been talking? All right. Let's go on. Although only delegates could participate in formal, we on page 133. Although only delegates could participate in formal discussions and vote on the platform, the Trump campaign could request changes, and members of the Trump campaign attended committee meetings. John Mashburn, the campaign's policy director, helped oversee the campaign's involvement in the platform committee meetings. He told the office that he directed campaign staff at the convention, including J.D. Gordon, to take a hands-off approach and only to challenge platform planks if they directly contradicted Trump's wishes. On July 11th, 2016, Delegate Diana Denman submitted a proposed platform amendment that included provision of armed support for Ukraine. The amendment described Russia's quote, ongoing military aggression, unquote, in Ukraine and announced, quote, support for maintaining and, if warranted, increasing sanctions against Russia until Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity are fully restored, unquote, and for, quote, providing lethal defensive weapons to Ukraine's armed forces and greater coordination with NATO, National Atlantic Treaty Organization, on defense planning. Gordon reviewed the proposed platform changes, including Denman's. Gordon stated that he flagged this amendment because of Trump's stated position on Ukraine, which Gordon personally heard the candidates say at the March 31st foreign policy meeting, namely that the Europeans should take primary responsibility for any assistance to Ukraine, that there should be improved U.S.-Russia relations, and that he did not want to start World War III over that region. Now, how can you start World War III with Russia when it's no longer a world power? It's not a global world. Russia ain't no global power no more. What was Trump talking about? You talk like that when it was the USSR, when it was the Union of the Soviet Socialist Republic. That don't exist no more. Anyway, these people. It says Gordon told the office that told the FBI office that Trump's statements on the campaign trail following the March meeting underscored those positions to the point where Gordon felt obliged to object to the proposed platform change and seek its dilution. Why did they start talking about better relationships with Russia? I'll tell you why. To get out in front of this of this investigation, so when an investigation starts, it would appear to be something that it really wasn't. They were already in bed together. And why would Putin stand up and say, when he was asked, did you order your people to help Donald Trump win? He said yes. He's already admitted that they got involved in it. And Donald Trump stood up in front of the whole world and asked them to. I notice none of you people who support Donald Trump, you're not coming in here defending him. I hear you defending him on Fox News and all of that stuff. Won't you come in here? This is an open forum. This is an open forum.
I'll defend him.
How? With what? Everything that he has been accused of, he's guilty of.
In the famous words of Dick Cheney, so what?
There you go. Now, what does someone use the term so what for? When you find them wrong and you say, well, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that. And I don't like it that you did this. When they say so what to you, that means what you gonna do about it. They think that you can't do nothing about it. You told me once you was gonna pay me a visit. Feel free to pay me a visit whenever you feel like it. Then tell me so what? Because I'm about sick and tired of you. I know what you need. Keep on. You run your mouth because you got this phone and stuff in between us. One thing that I can say is people that know me know that whatever I say to you over this phone, I say it to your face. You are a sorry excuse for a man. I hope all of the people in the country heard what he just said.
foolish of you to be reading the stuff.
Put him out of here. Put him out of here. Put him out of here. Ain't no sense in trying to play no skin game in here. I told you. I ain't into racism. You see? You see, with people like him that have no real justification for their hatred of you, they try to create some. Now, he would like me to be standing up here fat mouthing about what need to happen to America and what need to happen to white folks and what need to happen. That's a child's mind. That's not an adult mind. The last words that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad spoke to the nation of Islam and to the whole world, he gave us a lecture. He said, we don't want our people acting unrighteous, regardless to who acts unrighteous towards us. We must not do so ourselves, since we represent ourselves as righteous people. Then we be righteous. And if you say, there goes the devil, then don't try patterning yourself after the devil. Show the devil that you're a righteous person, because he's watching you for such. And if you say he's not righteous, then he will say, I was not my maker, and that'll stop your mouth. They did not make themselves, that is for sure. It was our kind who made them. See, he's in trouble now, not for being the devil, but for being disrespectful to the Lord himself. You see, he was told, don't do what he's doing when I got here. You see, so that's what he's being punished for. Even his fellow white people don't help him. They're not helping him do this. That's him. You understand? Now, what I'm supposed to hold them, all of them accountable for what one fool or two fools did? No, I'm not. Everyone shall be judged according to their own works, not according to the color of their skin. You understand? All right. There's an old saying for somebody like him, but he never learned it. Even in this world, it is said, it is better to remain silent and be thought of as a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. So, now, it says, on July 11th, 2016, at a meeting of the National Security and Defense Platform Subcommittee, Denman offered her amendment. Gordon and another campaign staffer, Matt Mueller, approached a committee co-chair and asked him to table the amendment to permit further discussion. Gordon's concern with the amendment was the language about providing, quote, lethal defensive weapons to Ukraine. Are there any other kind? Are there any other kind of weapons other than lethal? Unless you're talking about baseball bats or what? Billy clubs. but but anyway, lethal defensive weapons to Ukraine. Mueller did not have any independent basis to believe that this language contradicted Trump's views and relied on Gordon's recollection of the candidate's views. According to Denman, she spoke with Gordon and Matt Mueller, and they told her that they had to clear the language and that Gordon was, quote, talking to New York. Denman told others that she was asked by the two Trump campaign staffers to strike, quote, lethal defense weapons. Wanted to cross that out from the proposal, but that she refused. Denman recalled Gordon saying that he was on the phone with candidate Trump, but she was skeptical whether that was true. Gordon denied having told Denman that he was on the phone with Trump, although he acknowledged it was possible that he mentioned having previously spoken to the candidate about the subject matter. Gordon's phone records revealed a call to Sessions' office in Washington that afternoon, but do not include calls directly to a number associated with Trump. And according to the president's written answers to the office's questions, he does not recall being involved in the change in language of the platform amendment. Now, if he didn't recall being involved in it, well, who ordered the change? Huh? All right. Gordon stated that he tried to reach Rick Dearborn, a senior foreign policy advisor, and Mashburn, the campaign policy director. Gordon stated that he connected with both of them. He could not recall if by phone or in person. We're on page 134, by the way, or in person. Gordon recalled no objection by either Dearborn or Mashburn. Let me go back. Oh, yeah, I see. Gordon stated that he connected with both of them. He could not recall if by phone or in person, and apprised them of the language he took issue with in the proposed amendment. Gordon recalled no objection by either Dearborn or Mashburn, and that all three campaign advisors supported the alternative formulation. Now, remember, Gordon was the one who sat there and told the Russians, them Russian ambassadors, that he meant every word that he said about wanting a better relationship with Russia. Right? So now he's going about changing platform stances, platform points to, in other words, Trump don't know what's going on. He just there. You remember what Grover Norquist said they wanted? He said, for the next 20 years, the leadership is going to come out of the House and the Senate. Now, all we have to do is get a Republican that has good dexterity and can sign what we put in front of it. Remember that? We don't need no fearless leader. We just need someone to sign what we put in front of it. Right? That's what they got too. Then it says, Gordon recalled no objection by either Dearborn or Mashburn, and that all three campaign advisors supported the alternative formulation. The term, quote unquote, appropriate assistance. Dearborn recalled Gordon why does it read appropriate assistance? So that anything that they give It'd be all right with if Putin think it's okay just to make it look good, then they'll give him that. You understand? There you go. And it says, Dearborn recalled Gordon warning them about the amendment, but not weighing in because Gordon was more familiar with the campaign's foreign policy stance. Let me stop and say this to all of you who done sold your country out of because you want to be rich. You know, only fools think that money is power. That's what, Judas, he was like that. He wanted money so bad that he was willing to throw away the true power for some shiny. America didn't become great because of wealth. Wealth is a byproduct of greatness. That the thing that made America great was the enlightening of her people, of her citizens. Everybody used to want something made in America. Because it was top quality. It was cutting edge. True wealth is what you have in your head. That's why in the poem by Rudyard Kipling, he said, when you can, if you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it all on one turn of pitch and toss and lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. You know what wise people say when they invest in something and it don't pan out? And everybody be worrying about how much money was lost? He simply says, know where that came from. I know what to do. You just start over. If his mansion burned down and he knew how to build it and he built it, he said, "Wow, sure hate that." So let's hurry up and get this out of the way so we can rebuild. He just go on and do it again. But fools, they put value on that which is least valuable, and they devalue that which is most valuable. You see? Just like the little jealous fool that keeps coming back and forth in here. What he's really upset, he's jealous that I'm able to stand up and speak with authority on whatever subject matter I bring up. He wish he could do that. And since he can't do that, he tries to trivialize what he sees being done. Here, there's a man that didn't even know the meaning of the term alienate, inalienable. He didn't even know what an inalienable right is. And somebody from the, let me see, what is that? A man that was alive in the 17th century had a better command of the English language than he does. Ain't that something? And ain't nothing held him back but his laziness and his stupidity for believing that his skin was somehow a sign of greatness. Yeah. Anyway, let's go on. He want to say something right now, but he can't, because whatever he says makes him sound just that much more foolish. Gordon stated that he tried to reach Rick Dearborn, a senior foreign policy advisor, and Mashburn, the campaign policy director. Gordon stated that he connected with both of them. He could not recall if by phone or we done read that already. It says when the amendment came up again in the committee's proceedings, the subcommittee changed the amendment by striking the term, quote, lethal defense weapons, that language, and replacing it with appropriate assistance, quote unquote. Gordon stated that he and the subcommittee co-chair ultimately agreed to replace the language about armed assistance with appropriate assistance. The subcommittee accordingly approved Denman's amendment, but with the term, quote, appropriate assistance. Gordon stated that to his recollection, this was the only change sought by the campaign. Sam Clovis, the campaign's national co-chair and chief policy advisor, stated he was surprised by the change and did not believe it was in line with Trump's stance. Mashburn stated that when he saw the word, quote, appropriate assistance, he believed that Gordon had violated Mashburn's directive not to intervene. Subtitle 7, post-convention contacts with Kislyak. Ambassador Kislyak continued his efforts to interact with campaign officials with responsibility for the foreign policy portfolio, among them Sessions and Gordon. In the weeks after the convention, the office did not identify evidence in those interactions of coordination between the campaign and the Russian government. Subtitle 8, Ambassador Kislyak invites J.D. Gordon to breakfast at the ambassador's residence. On August 3rd, 2016, an official from the embassy of the Russian Federation in the United States wrote to Gordon, quote, on behalf of, unquote, Ambassador Kislyak, inviting Gordon, quote, to have breakfast tea with the ambassador at his residence in Washington, D.C. the following week. Gordon responded 5 days later to decline the invitation. He wrote, quote, these days are not optimal for us as we are busily knocking down a constant stream of false media stories while also preparing for the first debate with HRC. In other words, it was starting to get known that these people was getting too close to Russians. Huh? And it says, hope to take a rain check for another time when things quiet down a bit. Huh? Please pass along my regards to the ambassador. Unquote. The investigation did not identify evidence that Gordon made any other arrangements to meet or met with Kislyak after this email. No, that was enough. He said, wait till things die down a bit. Huh? Okay. Then on page 136, Senate Foreign Relations Committee and Pardon me. I messed up here. Let me go back. At the time, Sessions was a member. Now, at the time, wait a minute. Did I skip a page? Just a moment. Yes. Subsection B. Senator Sessions, I skipped a sentence at the bottom. Subsection B. Senator Sessions, September 2016 meeting with Ambassador Kislyak. Also in August 2016, a representative of the Russian embassy contacted Sessions' Senate office about setting up a meeting with Kislyak. Did Kislyak care anything about what Gordon had told him? So he went to Senator Sessions next, right? Okay. He says at the time, Sessions was a member. Sessions was a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and would meet with foreign officials in that capacity. But Sessions' staff reported, and Sessions himself acknowledged, that meeting requests from ambassadors increased substantially in 2016, as Sessions assumed a prominent role in the Trump campaign, and his name was mentioned for potential cabinet level positions in a future Trump administration. On September 8, 2016, Sessions met with Kislyak in his Senate office. Sessions said that he believed he was doing the campaign a service by meeting with foreign ambassadors, including Kislyak. But you have to remember, he had already met with Kislyak once at that dinner, remember? Then it says he was accompanied in the meeting by at least two of his Senate staff, Sandra Luff, his legislative director, and Pete Landrum, who handled military affairs. The meeting lasted less than 30 minutes. Sessions voiced concerns about Russia's sale of a missile defense system to Iran, Russian planes buzzing U.S. military assets in the Middle East, and Russian aggression in emerging democracies such as Ukraine and Moldova. Kislyak offered explanations on these issues and complained about NATO land forces in former Soviet bloc countries that border Russia. Landrum recalled that Kislyak referred to the presidential campaign as, quote, an interesting campaign. And Sessions also recalled Kislyak saying that the Russian government was receptive to the overtures Trump had laid out during his campaign. None of the attendees, though, remembered any discussion of Russian election interference or any request that Sessions convey information from the Russian government to the Trump campaign. Well, they didn't need to discuss it. Kislyak had already told them that, in so many words, President Putin was pleased with how their campaign was going. During the meeting, Kislyak invited Sessions to further discuss U.S.-Russia relations with him over a meal at the ambassador's residence. Sessions was non-committal when Kislyak extended the invitation. After the meeting ended, Luff advised Sessions against accepting the one-on-one meeting with Kislyak, whom she assessed to be an old school KGB guy, quote unquote, old school KGB guy. Neither Luff nor Landrum recalled that Sessions followed up on the invitation or made any further effort to dine or meet with Kislyak before the November 2016 election. Sessions and Landrum recalled that after the election, some efforts were made to arrange, page 137, by the way. According to Sessions, the request came, pardon me. Sessions and Landrum recalled that after the election, some efforts were made to arrange a meeting between Sessions and Kislyak. According to Sessions, the request came through CNI and would have involved a meeting between Sessions and Kislyak, two other ambassadors, and the governor of Alabama. Sessions, however, was in New York on the day of the anticipated meeting and was unable to attend. The investigation did not identify evidence that the two men met at any point after their September 8 meeting. Number 8, subtitle 8, Paul Manafort. Paul Manafort served on the Trump campaign, including a period as campaign chairman from March to August 2016. Manafort had connections to Russia through his prior work for Russian oligarch Oleg Deripaska, and later through his work for a pro-Russian regime in Ukraine. Manafort stayed in touch with these contacts during the campaign period through Konstantin Kalimnik, a longtime Manafort employee who previously ran Manafort's office in Kiev and who the FBI assesses to have ties to Russian intelligence. Manafort instructed Rick Gates, his deputy on the campaign and a longtime employee, to provide Kalimnik with updates on the Trump campaign, including internal polling data, although Manafort claims not to recall that specific instruction. Manafort expected Kalimnik to share that information with others in Ukraine and with Deripaska. Gates periodically sent such polling data to Kalimnik during the campaign. Now there's your smoking gun, really. Because what they need polling data for if they're not planning on using it for something to interfere in the election. But anyway, Manafort also twice met Kalimnik in the United States during the campaign period and conveyed campaign information. Notice, the FBI is providing you with the intelligence of what went on. And they leave you to draw the conclusion that you want to draw from the evidence that they show you. Manafort also twice met Kalimnik in the United States during the campaign period and conveyed campaign information. The second meeting took place on August 2nd, 2016 in New York City. Pardon me. Kalimnik requested the meeting to deliver in person a message from former Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych, who was then living in Russia. The message was about a peace plan for Ukraine that Manafort has since acknowledged was a quote unquote backdoor means for Russia to control eastern Ukraine. Several months later, after the presidential election, Kalimnik wrote an email to Manafort expressing the view, which Manafort later said he shared, that the plan's success would require U.S. support to succeed. Quote, all that is required to start the process is a very minor wink or slight push from Donald Trump, unquote. The email also stated that if Manafort were designated as the U.S. representative and started the process, Yanukovych would ensure his reception in Russia, quote, at the very top level. Manafort communicated with Kilimnik about peace plans for Ukraine on at least 4 occasions after their first discussion of the topic on August 2nd, December 2016. December 2016, the Kilimnik email described above. January 2017, February 2017, and again in the spring of 2018. The office reviewed numerous Manafort email and text communications and asked President Trump about the plan in written questions. The investigation did not uncover evidence of Manafort's passing along information about Ukrainian peace plans to the candidate or anyone else in the campaign or the administration. The office was not, however, able to gain access to all of Manafort's electronic communications. In some instances, messages were sent using encryption applications. And while Manafort denied that he spoke to members of the Trump campaign or the new administration about the peace plan, he lied to the office and the grand jury about the peace plan and his meetings with Kilimnik. And his unreliability on this subject was among the reasons that the district judge found that he breached his cooperation agreement. So even though they couldn't find the evidence that he had talked to Donald Trump and them about it, they didn't rule that out either. The office could not reliably determine Manafort's purpose in sharing internal polling data with Kilimnik during the campaign period. Manafort did not see a downside to sharing campaign information and told Gates that his role in the campaign would be good for business, quote unquote, good for business, and potentially a way to be made whole for work he previously completed in the Ukraine. Now, after Putin confessed at Helsinki with that he wanted Donald Trump to win, and he ordered his people to help. Well, then now, what do you suppose they did with the polling data that they got that helped them to help him? Do you understand? All right. So it says, Manafort did not see a downside to sharing campaign information and told Gates that his role in the campaign would be good for business, quote unquote, and potentially a way to be made whole for work he previously completed in the Ukraine. As to Deripaska, Manafort claimed that by sharing campaign information with him, Deripaska might see value in their relationship and resolve a, quote, disagreement, a reference to one or more outstanding lawsuits. Because of questions about Manafort's credibility and our limited ability to gather evidence on what happened to the polling data after it was sent to Kilimnik. The office could not assess what Kilimnik or others he may have given, what Kilimnik, or in parentheses, or others he may have given it to, did with it. The office did not identify evidence of a connection between Manafort's sharing polling data and Russia's interference in the election, which had already been reported by U.S. media outlets at the time of the August 2nd meeting. The investigation did not establish that Manafort otherwise coordinated with the Russian government on its election interference efforts. Subtitle A, page 139. Paul Manafort's ties to Russia and Ukraine. Manafort's Russian contacts during the campaign and transition periods stem from his consulting work for Deripaska from approximately 2005 to 2009, and his separate political consulting work in Ukraine from 2005 to 2015, including through his company DMP International LLC, DMI. Kalemnik worked for Manafort in Kiev during this entire period and continued to communicate with Manafort through at least June 2018. Kalemnik, who speaks and writes Ukrainian and Russian, facilitated many of Manafort's communications with Deripaska and Ukrainian oligarchs. Subtitle I, Oleg Deripaska consulting work. In approximately 2005, Manafort began working for Deripaska, a Russian oligarch who has a global empire involving aluminum and power companies and who is closely aligned with Vladimir Putin. A memorandum describing work that Manafort performed for Deripaska in 2005 regarding the post-Soviet republics referenced the need to brief the Kremlin and the benefits that the work could confer on quote unquote the Putin government. Gates described the work Manafort did for Deripaska as quote unquote political risk insurance, and explained that Deripaska used Manafort to install friendly political officials in countries where Deripaska had business interests. Manafort's company earned tens of millions of dollars from its work for Deripaska and was loaned millions of dollars by Deripaska as well. In 2007, Deripaska invested through another entity in Pericles Emerging Market Partners LP, quote, Pericles, in an investment fund created by Manafort and former Manafort business partner Richard Davis. The Pericles Fund was established to pursue investments in Eastern Europe. Deripaska was the sole investor. Gates stated in interviews with the office that the venture led to a deterioration, page 140, to a deterioration of the relationship between Manafort and Deripaska. In particular, when the fund failed, litigation between Manafort and Deripaska ensued. Gates stated that by 2009, Manafort's business relationship with Deripaska had, quote, dried up. According to Gates, various interactions with Deripaska and his intermediaries over the past few years have involved trying to resolve the legal dispute. As described below, in 2016, Manafort, Gates, Kalemnik, and others engaged in efforts to revive the Deripaska relationship and resolve the litigation. Subtitle 2, Roman numeral 2, political consulting work. Through Deripaska, Manafort was introduced to Renat Akhmatov, a Ukrainian oligarch who hired Manafort as a political consultant. In 2005, Akhmatov hired Manafort to engage in political work supporting the Party of Regions, a political party in Ukraine that was generally understood to align with Russia. Manafort assisted the Party of Regions in regaining power, and its candidate, Viktor Yanukovych, won the presidency in 2010. In 2010. Manafort became a close and trusted political advisor to Yanukovych during his time as president of Ukraine. Yanukovych served in that role until 2014, when he fled to Russia amidst popular protests. Roman numeral 3, subtitle Konstantin Kilimnik. Kilimnik is a Russian national who has lived in both Russia and Ukraine and was a longtime Manafort employee. Kilimnik had direct and close access to Yanukovych and his senior entourage, and he facilitated communications between Manafort and his clients, including Yanukovych and multiple Ukrainian oligarchs. Kilimnik also maintained a relationship between Deripaska's deputy, Viktor Boyarkin, a Russian national who previously served in the defense attaché office of the Russian embassy to the United States. Page 141. Manafort told the office that he did not believe Kilimnik was working as a Russian spy, quote unquote spy. The FBI, however, assesses that Kilimnik has ties to Russian intelligence. Several pieces of the office's evidence, including witness interviews and emails obtained through court-authorized search warrants, support that assessment. Kilimnik was born on April 27, 1970, in Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, then of the Soviet Union, and attended the Military Institute of the Ministry of Defense from 1987 until 1992. Sam Patton, a business partner to Kilimnik, stated that Kilimnik told him that he was a translator in the Russian army for 7 years, and that he later worked in the Russian armament industry, selling arms and military equipment. U.S. government visa records revealed that Kilimnik obtained a visa to travel to the United States with a Russian diplomatic passport in 1997. Kilimnik worked for the International Republican Institute, IRI, Moscow office, where he did translation work and general office management from 1998 to 2005, while another official recalled the incident differently. One former associate of Kilimnik's at IRI told the FBI that Kilimnik was fired from his post because his links to Russian intelligence were too strong. The same individual stated that it was well known at IRI that Kilimnik had links to the Russian government. Jonathan Hawker, a British national who was a public relations consultant at FTI Consulting, worked with DMI on a public relations campaign for Yanukovych. After Hawker's work for DMI ended, Kilimnik contacted Hawker about working for a Russian government entity. Page 142. On a public relations project that would promote in Western and Ukrainian media Russia's position on its 2014 invasion of Crimea. Gates suspected that Kalimnik was a, quote, spy, a view that he shared with Manafort, Hawker, and Alexander van der Zwaan, an attorney who had worked with DMI on a report for the Ukrainian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Subtitle B, Contacts During Paul Manafort's Time with the Trump Campaign. Roman numeral 1. Paul Manafort joins, subtitle Roman numeral 1. Paul Manafort joins the campaign. Manafort served on the Trump campaign from late March to August 19, 2016. On March 29, 2016, the campaign announced that Manafort would serve as the campaign's, quote, convention manager. On May 19, 2016, Manafort was promoted to campaign chairman and chief strategist, and Gates, who had been assisting Manafort on the campaign, was appointed deputy campaign chairman. Now, you have to remember, they uncovered the fact that Paul Manafort had been helping to install in other people's governments people who were sympathetic to Russia, which leads you to believe that he had to be some kind of Russian agent, or if nothing else, what you would call an information mercenary, one who or a offering his services for hire to whoever would pay him to do their bidding. You don't want that kind of man involved in the election of a president of the United States. And it says, brother, who is that in there with David? I didn't hear you. Brother Derek, you all need to do something about that. Manafort served on the Trump campaign from late March to August 19, 2016. On March 29, 2016, the campaign announced that Manafort would, this is the last page I'm going to read, y'all, for today. On May 19, 2016, Manafort was promoted to campaign chairman and chief strategist, and Gates, who had been assisting Manafort on the campaign, was appointed deputy campaign chairman. Thomas Barack and Roger Stone both recommended Manafort to candidate Trump. In early 2016, at Manafort's request, Barack suggested to Trump that Manafort join the campaign to manage the Republican convention. Stone had worked with Manafort from approximately 1980 until the mid-1990s through various consulting and lobbying firms. So Stone had to know that Manafort had a lot of Russian ties and stuff. Then it says Manafort met Trump in 1982 when Trump hired the black Manafort, Stone, and Kelly lobbying firm. Over the years, Manafort saw Trump at political and social events in New York City and at Stone's wedding, and Trump requested VIP status at the 1988 and 1996 Republican conventions worked by Manafort. Now the plot thickens, huh? All these crooks go way back. Huh? You remember that when they used to bring Donald Trump on the Oprah show and all of them asked me, have you ever thought about running for president? He said, no. You remember that? Anyway, let's put a pin in it right there. And I'll be reading some more of it tomorrow to you all at I'm gonna read some tomorrow. I'm not gonna make you sit here through it, because you can go and look at it on the internet or whatever. But I'll read as much of it as I feel like reading tomorrow after prayer. And then those of you who want to listen in, I'm gonna just stay in the conference room tomorrow, and I'll read some more of it. Me and my helpers here are gonna have to be here. And so until then, may Allah bless us all and keep us safe and in our right minds. And what you saw tonight was an example of someone who thought that prayer was a joke. And you see he losing his mind. So may Allah continue to bless us all and keep us safe and in our right minds. Those of us who fear him and who hunger and thirst for his righteousness. And may he grant you a peaceful night of rest and sleep and a happy and peaceful morning's rise. May Allah's salam alaikum. May wa alaikum Allah. Get your lights, brother Michael. Where? May wa alaikum Allah salam. That's the son of man. May wa alaikum Allah salam.
I'm sorry about
Well, sister, like I said, you always talking when I'm trying to talk. You don't listen, and I'm just telling you, sis, you better cut that out. All right. And I'll talk with you later. I'll forgive you. But you better stop having to say you sorry. So just stop. Pay attention when I'm talking to you, and stop doing things I told you not to do. All right. I'll talk with you. Later.
Okay, now
You may want to link them up outside. You may want to link them up outside. You too, sir. Did you get it? No, I didn't get it. Okay. You all right?
Mm-hmm. Then okay.
What about us?
We
And you're the same, baby brother.
Call from wireless caller.
going the wrong way.
It's the son of man, man. Help you. May I link my last line?
You're still alive.
No, I'm not. I'm off. We didn't turn it off.
I'm still listening to you watching here and listening to you on YouTube. So.
Well, you probably catching the last end of it. I mean, we done went off. You don't cut that, huh? Brother Michael left the thing on.